Hello, dear friends. Redemption is real. It's just not public. Opinion piece. Redemption of historic bonds. Forgotten wealth. Secrets buried in vaults. October, a strategic month. Let's start. The redemption of historic bonds is the forgotten wealth that will shake the global financial system, according to Media Grid. Buried for decades, purposefully suppressed, these bonds are the key to the global financial reset, and their redemption will change everything. If money is power, then historic bonds are nuclear weapons, but this time for peace. We are not witnessing a return to the past. We are witnessing the resurrection of forgotten truth, sealed in gold, bound by oath, and ready to emerge into the light. History will not be rewritten. It will be redeemed. A historical bond is a debt certificate issued by a government, often backed by gold or land issued decades or centuries ago, and never honored. These are not ordinary bonds. They were created long before the digital age, were printed on parchment, signed by monarchs or state treasurers, and backed by real tangible wealth. Historical bonds are all debt securities, issued to finance projects or wars, such as railroad, government, or colonial bonds. Although many are no longer traded in modern markets, some bonds retain their value as collectibles or, in some cases, may be callable if legal backing exists. That's not economic theory. It's a chain reaction waiting to explode. Redemption is the act of redeeming or recovering the face amount of the bond plus any accrued interest through a legal process of validation and verification of its authenticity. This process involves proving that the security belongs to an officially recognized issue, that the legitimate holder has valid documentation, and that there is an entity, governmental or private, with residual payment capacity. Definition. The redemption of historical bonds is the process of attempting to recover or redeem the economic value of old bonds issued by governments, colonial entities, or corporations, whose validity dates back centuries and which, in many cases, were abandoned, forgotten, or never collected. They may represent an opportunity to redeem heritage or a simple piece of historical value with no right to cash payment. Redemption includes certification of authenticity and provenance, filing with jurisdictions or entities that handle historical debt claims, and compliance with tax and notarial requirements. This process requires expert guidance to avoid fraud, as false offers circulate promising multi-million-dollar redemptions. Most historical bonds have no current legal collection value, as the issuing entities have disappeared or the debts have been cancelled through agreements or national bankruptcies. However, in some countries, there are international programs or litigation seeking partial compensation, especially in cases involving colonial debts or bonds issued by defunct central banks. Buried secrets. Before digital banking, before the central banks, there were handwritten promises of gold, freedom, and sovereignty, now locked away and forgotten. Until now, in a world enslaved by debt and fiat illusions, few understand that there is a silent ledger beneath our feet, one that predates SWIFT, the World Bank, or even the Federal Reserve. Generations ago, kings, emperors, and governments issued gold-backed promises to pay debts and finance nations. These were the original historic bonds, documents of immense power, now sealed in vaults, discredited, ignored, or intentionally hidden. Today, amid the global financial reset, these forgotten instruments are resurfacing not as collectibles, but as keys to planetary financial rebalancing. What are historical bonds? Some examples include Chinese dragon bonds issued during the Qing dynasty and backed by gold, pre-World War II German bonds linked to reparations and gold pledges, Philippine victory notes issued after World War II but never fully paid, Treaty of Versailles bonds linked to post-World War I global restructuring, royal or monarchical certificates that are personal gold obligations between empires. Why were they not redeemed earlier? Simple. They were never meant to be. After the Second World War and the creation of the Bretton Woods system, globalists migrated the planet to a fiat currency, unbacked, manipulable, and controllable. Gold-backed debt instruments became dangerous to those in power because honoring them meant returning real wealth to families and sovereign nations, collapsing the central bank's false debt model, and ending the power of the fiat cartel. Instead of rescuing these bonds, they buried them, they filed them away, they destroyed the documentation, they discredited their holders and forbade even discussing them in public finances. These bonds were not forgotten, they were suppressed. Who holds these bonds today? Although most people have never seen a historical bond, many still exist, passed down through generations, locked away in private vaults, or held by sovereign trusts. Bondholders include royal families and monarchical lineages, tribal councils in Africa, Asia, and Oceania, private trusts created before or during global conflicts, foundations aligned with level set of the reset, and designated elders and guardians of forgotten national wealth. Why are historical bonds important to the global reset? Because they are not just documents, they are triggers. When these bonds are redeemed, legitimate debt structures would collapse, the gold standard would re-emerge, and fiat money would lose influence. Humanitarian funds are available and backed by real value, not printed illusions. These bonds are the missing link between past wealth and future justice. Their redemption signifies the beginning of a new economy based on truth and substance. How is redemption happening in secret? Behind closed doors, redemption is already underway. Under strict confidentiality agreements and rigorous security protocols, global alliances verify and process legitimate bonds using the quantum financial system QFS to track and record redemption. Private redemption officers work with sovereign entities and elite banking desks separate from commercial banks, operating through diplomatic channels and legal teams bound by international treaties. Fraud alert. As with any powerful and rare object, counterfeiters have emerged. Online scammers are now selling purported prosperity packages and digital bonds with no traceable history or documentation. Here's what to keep in mind. Without the lineage, without the signature, and without embossing it, it's not real. Without the legal chain of custody, it's worthless. And neither are purely digital formats. Only authentic generational documents with verified history and notarized certification have value. When enough of these bonds are redeemed, even a fraction, the domino effect will be unstoppable. Central banks will lose their monopoly on debt creation. The price of gold will skyrocket. As the suppression of reserves is acknowledged, governments may be forced to readjust their balance sheet, and the people will finally see what was hidden from them. Reset news. No further comment needed. The storm is coming. The reset of the world's financial, medical, judicial, and spiritual systems is a global event soon to occur. It is the final phase of a plan to save the world from evil. During this reset, all eligible adults will receive financial accounts called wallets on the new Starlink satellite system, which will be filled with GISRA funds. According to Tucker Carlson on Telegram, at 11:11 p.m. on Friday, October 2025, the quantum signal was fired from the Cheyenne Mountain complex. Project Aurora, the emergency transmission test, was a success. On Thursday, October 23rd, banking servers around the world went into review. Apple and Android just received a dormant update marked EBS Prep. No media, no press, no announcements, just a pulse through the quantum network, followed by silence, then movement. The satellite networks in Atlanta, London, and Zurich have transferred to military exchange mode. The world believes everything is business as usual, but behind the scenes, the old financial matrix is being erased. According to Caroline Bessette Kennedy on Telegram, the remnants of the dark side are panicking, sabotaging their own networks and burning their evidence. The coalition is intercepting every byte, every banking key, every command. Europol has dismantled a SIM card farm that operated 49 million fake accounts used for global fraud. Unconfirmed reports indicate that banks are programming private exchanges of Iraqi dinars and Vietnamese dongs. Participants are said to sign strict confidentiality agreements before the exchanges. Both the dinar and the dong stand out as undervalued assets. These are the first signs of a radical change. October is a strategic month. Fiscal shutdowns, central bank readjustments, digital network realignment. It would be the perfect time for a controlled reset. Something bigger is brewing when independent information flows converge. In any case, the system is on alert. Timing is everything. Passion distinguishes the prepared from those who panic. Final phase. The system is up. The gold is secured. The audits are done. Those who know don't wait. They are already in, watching from the other side of the firewall. Opinions. Alexander Quinn said we are invisible to people on a lower frequency. According to Alex Jones, globalists want to burn down society in a controlled collapse. There is reality, and then there is a whole series of absurd simulations that claim to represent reality, according to James Howard Kunstler. Peter Navarro declared that on British control of the US, declared war on British control of the US. 3 days later, Trump's agreement with Australia aimed to dismantle British imperial control. A song by the group Fanboy 3 refers to the loss of rights, political control, and the absurdity of institutional decisions, saying that the lunatics have taken over the asylum, in reference to those who govern and restrict freedoms. Economy. Stocks hit new records after a moderate inflation report. JP Morgan plans to allow cryptocurrencies as collateral. Tether stablecoin reaches more than 6% of the world's population. Anonymous donor donates $130 million to cover troop pay shortfalls during government shutdown. Debt defaults are occurring after millions of humans are replaced by autonomous systems, according to Mike Adams. Oil sanctions are an act of war against Russia, according to Medvedev. Elon Musk says robots and artificial intelligence will replace all jobs and that labor will be optional, like growing vegetables instead of buying them. Tucker Carlson announced he will never invest in Bitcoin, claiming the cryptocurrency was created and controlled by the CIA. Edward Dodd, former BlackRock manager, predicts a collapse of the AI stock market bubble, a drop in oil prices to $25 or $35, and warns that economic tensions with China are affecting markets. USA. Trump ends all trade negotiations with Canada. The FBI has evidence that 2020 election was stolen. Secretary Kennedy declares war on hospitals performing organ removal on living patients. The Trump administration declared a National Agricultural Security Action Plan that prohibits the purchase of farmland linked to the CCP. The new ballroom, the White House project, valued at $300 million, is funded by private donations, not taxpayer money. Asia. Trump aims to sign mineral deals in Asia to increase pressure on China. China reduces its purchases on Russian oil after new sanctions. China promises to boost domestic consumption and technological self-sufficiency. Japan pushes back pressure to hold Russian energy imports. Israel resumes attacks and aid blockade in Gaza. Europe. European stocks close higher after moderate inflation data. EU says TikTok and Meta breached transparency rules. The EU targets natural gas, cryptocurrencies and Russian banking in its sanctions package. EU energy ministers want to ditch Russian gas in 2 years. Gas demand soars in Spain after the major blackout. According to Florentino Patriota, the US military is arriving in Spain to arrest corrupt officials, but there is no confirmation of this rumor. Sweden tells its citizens to prepare for war mode. French socialists threaten to end Prime Minister Le Cornu's term over the budget dispute. The Labour Party suffered a historic defeat in the Caerphilly by-election. The Welsh people have spoken, setting the stage for the rest of the UK. Viktor Orban addresses 250,000 citizens in Budapest. In quotes, "You have ensured that Hungary remains the only migrant-free country in Europe. You have defied the entire Brussels snake pit." Americas. Brazil has the highest wealth inequality in the world, Slovakia the lowest. Bolivia's new president backs blockchain technology to combat corruption. The Pentagon orders an aircraft carrier strike group to join Southern Command operations near Venezuela. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.